Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Today we are going to study another topic, that is Huygen principle. Before the Huygen principle, there was a theory that was Newton's corpuscular theory, and Huygen rejected this theory. What was in this theory? This theory said that light consists of small corpusculars, and due to different intensities, these corpusculars have different sizes. So it means that these corpusculars supported the photons theory, and they say that light can be polarized, and they say that the light corpusculars will be followed rectilinear path. But when Huygen come and he discover his principle, that is Huygen principle, he rejected this Newton corpuscular theory. He said that light follows diffraction. Light do not follow rectilinear motions. So that is why the Huygen's principle was accepted and the Newton corpuscular theory was rejected. So Huygen said that light follows diffraction, and he proved it experimentally. Light follows diffraction, and whenever light follows diffraction, it must obey inverse square law. Inverse square law means when the distance is increased, travel increased. When the light is traveling, its distance is increasing from the source, so its intensity will begin decreasing. So that is inverse square law. Okay. What is the statement? So there are two types of statement of Huygen principle, that the locus points. Statement number one is the locus points behaves as secondary sources. The locus points behaves as secondary sources. This is statement number one, and this is statement number two. The wavefront is along the tangent on the wavelets of secondary sources. This is the second statement. The wavefront is along the tangent and the wavelets of secondary sources. Okay. These are the two statements. So whenever we have a primary source, it will produce light in every direction. Suppose I am going to study up direction, and it will produce light towards right, it will produce light in this direction, it will produce light in downward direction, it will produce light in this direction. So there are different directions of light. So it means that the light will spread out in all the direction. Okay. When the light spread in all the direction, so I am going to study this pattern of light. So if I am going to study this pattern of light, so look at here, I am going to draw it again. So this is the pattern. This is the pattern which I am going to draw again to show you clearly. So in this region, the waves are like this. Look at here. This is one wavelet. This is another wavelet. This is another wavelet. This is another wavelet. And this is another wavelet. There are different wavelets. Okay. Now this is called 1. This is called 2. This is called 3. This point is called 4. This point is called 5. These are called locus points. Locus points is defined as those points which have equidistance from the primary source. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are the locus points. But when this one have a wavelet, so it means that this one is behaving as a source. So that is called the secondary source. So it means that 1 is the secondary source, 2 is the secondary source because it also producing a wavelet. So it is also a secondary source. 3 is also a secondary source because it is also producing a wavelet. 4 is also a secondary source because it is producing a wavelet. So likewise 5 is also a secondary source because they are producing wavelets. Why is secondary source? Because this is the primary source. Primary source means the original source is produce light, and these sources are produced from the primary source, so these are called secondary sources. So secondary sources produce their own wavelets. This is the first statement. Look at the first statement. The locus points behaves as secondary sources. So these are the locus points, and these are behaving as secondary sources because they are producing its own wavelets. Okay, now now look at to the crust. This is crust, mean extreme point. This is crust, this is crust, this is crust, this is crust. So at each and every point, the potential energy is maximum, means the same. At each point, the kinetic energy is zero, means the same. At each point, the velocity is zero. At each point, the acceleration is maximum. It means that all these points have the same state of motion. So it means that all these points are same in phase. So if we draw a line on these points, so this position of this point is called wavefront. So look at here, the wavefront is along the tangent on the wavelet. What is meant by tangent? Tangent, you know that when a line touches a circle at one point, that is called the tangent line. So when we draw wavefront, so that wavefront will touch the wavelet at a single point. So it means that wavelet is along the tangent on the wavelets of secondary sources. So wavelet is along the tangent and the secondary. This is the second statement. Look at the statement. The wavefront is along the tangent. On what? On the wavelets of secondary source. So these are the wavelets of secondary sources, and the wavefront is along the tangent on these sources. So this is the second statement. So if you observe that this wavefront is actually circular. So if the wave traveling the distance, so this wavefront will become plane at a far distance. So look at here. Here the wavefront is circular. When it goes away, so it will become plane. So if it is reaches to this point, so look at the wavefront. These are the wavelets. These are the wavelets. This is crust, this is crust, 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 and crust. So if we meet these points, so these points will meet. So this is called wavefront. This is called plane wavefront. Why it is called plane? Because it is a straight. So it means that whenever it is near to the source, so it is circular wavefront. When it is far away from the source, it is plane wavefront. So it means that at t time there will be a plane circular wavefront, but at time t plus delta t time there will be a spherical wavefront. Remember, near to the source the wavefront is circular, and far away from the source the wavefront is always a plane wavefront. So Huygen's principle explains a Huygen's principle. Huygen's principle is always explain the diffraction. He said that if we look to the propagation, this is the propagation of source 2. This propagation is perpendicular to wavefront. He said that the propagation in the wavefront will always perpendicular to one another. So remember, why the light is spreading out? Due to the secondary sources. Because the secondary sources are formed in a space which produces its own wavelet. That is why the light will spreading in all the direction, up direction, right, left, down. In each and every direction the light will spread out. So the light spreading is depending upon the secondary sources, and whenever the light propagates, it will perpendicular to the wavefront, and the wavefront is always be tangent to the on the wavelets of secondary sources. This is about the Huygen's principle. If you have any query, then you can ask in comment section. Okay, thank you. Allah Hafiz.